So, one of the easiest ways to be happy is to be in a state of flow. Now, there's this old book called Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience, or Flow, The Secret of Happiness. Now, I don't want to pronounce the author's name. I know his first name is Mihaly, but his last name is almost impossible to pronounce, so I'm not going to embarrass myself or, do injustice to the author. But the book is about how the happiest people are often the ones that are in flow, which is they're working on a task that they're very comfortable with. And I wanted to talk a little bit about flow in this podcast. One of the reasons most people suffer and feel frustrated is because they can't get themselves to think the thoughts they always want to. So, one thing you'll realize if you just closed your eyes and just sat down is that you really can't control your stream of thoughts, right? You just have to let them flow and let them do their thing. And any attempt at trying to change your thoughts actively is just going to lead to resentment and frustration. And if you want to try this out, just don't think of a white elephant for the next 30 seconds, right? It's harder than it seems. And the reason for this is because most people don't realize that there are two brains inside you, right? There's the prefrontal cortex, which is the seat of intelligence. It's the one that evolved very recently. And then there's the limbic system, which is the older brain, which is the monkey brain. I like to call it the monkey brain because it's like, in my opinion, it's like having a pet in there. And the sooner you realize that there are two different brains and you, the rationalizing brain, the prefrontal cortex, have to deal with the older brain, and basically you're in service of that older brain, right? And whether you know it or not, every decision you make, every rational decision you make is just serving the needs of your limbic system or your monkey brain. And the right way to treat that brain is to treat it exactly how you treat any other pet. If you had a dog, and a lot of people are great owners of dogs, right? They treat dogs very well, but they don't treat their monkey brain the same way, right? They reprimand it, they punish it, they argue with it, they trap it. But the right way to kind of really treat the limbic system or the monkey brain is to treat it like any other pet, to treat it like you treat a good pet, right? Which is treat it with respect. If it's barking or if it's being loud, unusually loud, then you just ignore it. Remember, when your dog's barking, you don't go and reprimand and say, "Why are you barking?" Instead, you just ignore it for a bit and the dog will just eventually stop barking because it's not getting any attention. So you need to learn how to ignore your older brain. And it seems counterintuitive to think that there are two brains inside you, but there truly are, right? That it's two very separate systems. And I've held a human brain in my hand and I already knew that there were two separate systems. But when you hold a real human brain in your hand, and I had the opportunity to do this at NIMHANS some time ago, you realize that there's no actual physical separation between these two parts of the brain. It's just like a natural extension or a natural evolution. So biology is complex, and looking at it play out in behavior, that's even more exciting to watch. But one of the most important ways to manage your monkey brain, apart from ignoring it when it gets too loud, or giving it what it wants once in a while, one of the best ways to kind of work with the monkey brain is to allow it to play. Dogs function very, very well if you allow them to play. Exercise is healthy, right? But more important than exercise is the fact that you need to keep the dog occupied. Similarly, you need to keep the monkey brain occupied. And one of the best ways to keep the monkey brain occupied is to teach it some skill, right? Whether that be design or football or anything. It could be absolutely anything, even playing an instrument. Make sure that the dog has or the monkey brain has a certain degree of control or a certain degree of skill at that particular task, and then eventually allow it to play, which is to go ahead and just free play, right? Just imagine you're playing a video game and you're just put in the middle of the video game with a controller, and you can do whatever you want in free training or practice mode. That is flow, right? And the book obviously goes all over the place and talks about flow in many different ways, but in short, it's about letting your monkey brain play. And when your monkey brain plays, the other part of your brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, some people call it the default mode network. Psychologists like to use that word, the default mode network, which is the seat of not just intelligence but also of anxiety and depression, that shuts off for a bit as the monkey brain plays. So the goal is to get the monkey brain to come out and do its thing while the newer brain, the more rational brain, takes a break and just chills out. And that is how you stay happy.